Chapter 13, Newborn, is up next. Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to the Clever TV Eclipse chapter recaps. I'm your host, Dana Ward. Today we're at lucky number 13, and the chapter is called Newborn. It starts with Jasper explaining his scar, saying he has several more and that only vampire venom leaves a known mark. He then goes on to tell his story right to Bella. We learn that in Jasper's young adult time, the vampire groups in the South were always fighting for highly populated areas since the human deaths seemed to go unnoticed there. Now, one vampire, Benito, discovered that he could create an army of newborn vampires in order to easily destroy other covens in order to take over territories and thus be able to feed more frequently. Jasper tells how newborns are powerful, intense, and much stronger than other vampires for about a year after being turned, so Benito was unstoppable. That caused the rest of the covens to develop their own armies of newborns, and fighting and murders got so crazy that the Volturi came to keep the vampires in check and therefore unexposed to humans. In fact, the mass human death got linked to disease at one point. Basically, Jasper just high-fived the Volturi. Kinda weird, but true. So the newborn armies were kept secret until the leaders returned to Italy, and then more carefully constructed newborns were made. Suddenly, the story connection is made. Jasper is from a newborn army. Jasper had joined the human Confederate Army, gaining in the ranks quickly because of his natural strength and leadership. While riding his horse alone between duties, he chose to stop because there were 3 young, beautiful women in white dresses, and he was all alone with them. Jasper describes that he was just frozen in awe, listening to a really strange conversation about how he's just right and how he will be killed, and his gentleman ways caused him to stay with the unaccompanied ladies versus totally riding off. People always say to listen to your intuition, and Jasper certainly should have done that at this point. Then it's just Maria and him, and she mentions that she hopes he survives. Suddenly, Jasper fast-forwards the story a few days later, and we learn that those 3 girls were survivors of recently lost battles between covens, and Maria really wanted back their territory. Maria led a newborn army of male soldiers to fight, be invisible to humans, and since Jasper was always winning intergroup battles, he even got promoted. Something to be proud of, or no? I don't know, you tell me. Plus, his emotion-controlling power made their army quite strong and efficient, and they were able to easily take over Maria's old stomping ground, but she got greedy, wanting to win several other territories. So then the story switches to talk about Peter, who Jasper describes as a good newborn, but more civilized than others. And this is the babysitter for the army. Wow, you couldn't pay me for that job. So basically, Peter needs to purge the old newborns, so Maria insists to kill them all in order to make room for the new newborns. Now, Peter tried to instruct that some vampires had potential, but Maria said no, she didn't care. When it was time to execute one of the newborns, Charlotte, Peter shouted, "Run!" and together they totally took off from the group. But the pair returns 5 years later to tell Jasper about another, better way of living. Vampires can coexist outside of Maria Land. So he chooses to escape with Peter and Charlotte for a few years, but he then goes on his own because he's so incredibly depressed. That emotion-related power of his caused him to live the human feelings when feeding on them. He winds up in a Philadelphia diner one day where a young lady walks up to him and with a big smile on her face says that he'd kept her waiting a very long time. You guys, it was Alice, and it's how they met. Not like totally super cute, but still, it's nice. And for the very first time, Jasper felt hope. Alice told the vision of the Cullens she'd seen, and they straight up go to the Cullens' house. How weird is that? Jasper and Alice just show up knowing their names and personal information? Well, we all know how that worked out, and it was definitely for the best. Then the story is kind of over and the Cullens start to discuss the newborn army of now in Seattle. They decide to destroy the newborns, especially in order to avoid the Volturi needing to travel to Washington to take charge and thus see that Bella is still human. So Alice is unable to see a clear vision of the future, stating that the person or vampire keeps switching decisions, to which they discuss someone purposely trying to hide from her visions. Is it the Volturi? Or maybe it's a newbie? Who knows? The family decides that they need to fight ASAP, so Carlisle calls some other known vampires to ask for help, to which he is straight up denied. Apparently, Laurent had been staying for about a year with this family before he died, and they wanted the Cullens to say it's a-okay for them to attack the wolves in exchange for help attacking the newborns. But of course, Carlisle says a big no to that one. Then Jasper says that without them, quote, we'd win, but at what price? Basically, not all of the family would make it back alive from their victory. And that is the end of the chapter. So today's question is, why did it take the Volturi such a long time to intervene with the newborn killings in the South, especially if they were so against human knowledge of vampires? Let us know with a quick comment posting. Thanks for checking out our Eclipse chapter recap series. I'm Dana Ward in Beverly Hills, reminding you to always go straight to Clever TV for all of your Twilight Saga news, reviews, and gossip. We'll see you soon.